and even my teachers were telling me, "Do you have a plan B?" And I was like, "My plan, there's no plan B." Because if I have a plan B, then मैं सोचूंगी कि चलो plan A थोड़ा सा fail हो भी गया तो चलेगा, life would go on. But no, I was like, I did not give myself that grace. And actually, I did think about this when I was getting all waitlisted. मुझे लगा
Guys, welcome back to Entrance and Beyond. This is our first CAT episode. A lot of people were curious about MBA and the other sort of options that you have after engineering. And this is also a podcast for folks from other fields. A lot of people from the commerce industry and other such fields also can take up CAT. There's no underlying sort of thing that is only for engineers and all of that. So today I have Isha Chandalia from Cummins College of Engineering. So she basically passed out in 2024. And after that, she gave her CAT exam and she got admitted into IIM Indore for a good program down there. So we'll get to know a bit more about that throughout the podcast. So if I talk a bit more about Isha, so she joined Cummins. She was active in a lot of clubs. So the entrepreneurship club, there's an entrepreneurship cell in Cummins, and it's pretty prevalent in all the colleges. You must have heard about COEP's entrepreneurship club if you come from Pune. And she also worked on the school mental health sort of startup thing. So she has experience from that as well. And she also did her summer internship as well from Optum in the year 2023 in Hyderabad. And yeah, we'll get to know about her entire journey throughout this podcast. So, Isha, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It would be great if you could introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. I think you have pretty much summarized my introduction, but hello, my name is Isha and I am from Kolhapur. So, I when I came to Pune, I actually got admission to Cummins College of Engineering, and there I got exposed to so many things and so many experiences, and that actually made me also as he mentioned about the work for mental health, and that is why I had a startup for mental health. I also was in the entrepreneurship club, and then later on, in my final year, I founded the first ever mental health club of Cummins College. So I've done pretty much things in college over there, but then after that I decided that I wanted to do an MBA, and so I gave CAT 2025, sorry, CAT 2024, and after that I went through the GDPI rounds, the college interviews, and then I got admitted into IIM Indore, and I'll be joining Indore this year.
Okay. So, Isha, how are you like as a student? A lot of people are like really curious about how people were as a student before college because there's this sort of mindset that people that do well, they're like inherently they're really smart or they're really hardworking from the onset. So, how are things before like your college? Like, what sort of student were you? Like a front bencher, back bencher? Like, how was life before college?
Before college, I would say I was not like a front bencher or a back bencher of any sort. In school as well, I was like a balance of both. I would say I was good in academics as well as extracurricular. So I was the discipline head girl of my school, and I also did pretty well in my 10th standard. I did like 98%. So then everybody thought, oh my god, she's really smart. But actually, I would say that I am just really hardworking. Like if I want something, and if I realize, oh, I have to get this thing, I just work really hard for it. This happened with me in CAT as well, because I knew like I wanted it so bad. So I see a lot of people saying that they prepared like 2 months for CAT and they were able to crack it, and it's not me. I cannot really do that. I need time and I need structure, and I just work really hard, and that is why I was able to do that. And yes, there is a thing of all rounders and people who are really smart who get into IIMs, but I would say you do not need to be like very very smart or to get into an IIM. You need to be a balance, and I think we will talk about more about why this is important in like the further questions, like the in the whole GDPR process. I would explain why this is important. But yeah, I would say not very smart, because when JE came through, I struggled a lot in it and I did not really like it a lot. And even in the initial years of my college, I was not able to pick up on a lot of things until like my second year. in my third year also, I struggled into getting an internship very much. And so I would say I'm not naturally smart, but if you just work hard, you can get it. Yeah.
Okay. So, Isha, when did you get to know about CAT? Because a lot of people I've heard they don't really have an idea about CAT and all of that. They sort of start exploring the options into the fourth year, maybe when they're not too great placements. They even start exploring the technical options such as GATE and CAT. So, how did you stumble upon CAT, and why did it really like strike you that maybe I could give this exam and actually this would be the correct career path for me?
So I have a friend who was giving CAT when I was in my third year, and he was just graduating. So he gave CAT over there, and he told me about like there's this entrance exam that you have to give if you want to do an MBA. So that is how I actually knew about CAT, and I did not really plan on giving CAT back then. I did not even know if I wanted to do an MBA back then when I was in like third year or something. I knew I wanted to do masters, and my parents were thinking about sending me abroad, and I that is why, and I personally did not want to go abroad. So I was kind of pushing the masters thought away. So it was not in my head. But then later, when my placement season arrived, and I was giving a few interviews, and then I actually realized that I am not actually enjoying my degree or my field that much, and I really want to go into people management, because all throughout my college, or basically I would say all throughout my life, I was very much interested in dealing with people or having like managerial skills inside me. So I thought, okay, maybe I should do an MBA. And so what like any normal person, I just googled MBA in India, and then I found out that you have a few exams. You have CAT exam, you have ZAT exam, SNAP, and MAT. These are the few major exams that you have to give. Also, Maharashtra CET is one of them. So I stumbled upon these exams, and CAT is the I would say the biggest exam, also the most difficult one. Also ZAT is also difficult, but then CAT is the most sought after exam. So that is why I decided, okay, if this covers most colleges, so I would give this exam. And as I said, like my friends who were also giving it, who were with me in my in my final year, they were also giving CAT, and I told about my friend. So that is how I found out about it, and I decided, okay, I want to give this exam.
Okay. So now let's dive into CAT. So it would be awesome if you could just break down the structure of the CAT exam, because a lot of people aren't really aware about the syllabus or the main subjects that are out there. So it could be great if you could briefly describe the different subjects in CAT.
Yes, so if in the CAT exam, there are three subjects. You have the verbal ability and reading comprehension. It's called the VARC section. Then you have the logical reasoning and data interpretation. There's LRDI section, and the last section is the quant section, which is maths. So you have the CAT exam is a 2 hour exam, and each section is given 40 minutes. So 40 minutes for VARC, 40 minutes for LRD, and 40 minutes for QA. This is the sequence that you go through, and you cannot change the sequence. You have to go through it only. And it has negative marking. You get +3 for correct answers and -1 for wrong answers. And in the let's talk about the VARC section.
Yeah.
So the VARC section, as it says, it's VA and RC. So verbal ability is your grammar and your fill in the blanks, arrange sentences, those kind of things. While the RC section is reading comprehension. Like they give you a passage, and then you have questions based upon the passage. So that is all about the VARC section. Then you have the logical reasoning section, which is the LRDI section. Over there, you have puzzles. By puzzles, I mean you get a passage, and it has a problem, or
Hmm.
it has a few instructions, and they are and you are being asked to solve the puzzle, and there are questions based on it. So you get 4 sets, and you have to solve them. Like you don't have to solve all the sets, you have to solve 2 or 3 sets to get the maximum marks, I think. And data interpretation is your bar graphs, your tables, all of that.
Yeah.
Again, it is a little bit easier, but it's very calculative. And logical reasoning, you have logical sets like arrangement sets, circular arrangements, linear arrangements, or blood relation questions, stuff like that. Then we come to the QA section, which is the quantitative ability section. It has maths, and it has the 10 standard maths only. You have arithmetic, which is uh, compound interest, simple interest, and then you have uh, algebra, you have geometry, and you have modern maths, which is like probability, PNC, stuff like that. So it's 10th maths, but if you get a difficult level, you can do like 11th maths, but like you do not have too much of complications like the calculus and stuff like that. But there is a little bit of difficult algebra over there, and arithmetic you'll have anything and everything from like number systems, or like how to uh, find out the time, or like time, speed, distance, all those questions. They are included in the math section, the QA section.
Okay. So, Isha, once you give the CAT exam, what is the process like? First of all, you give the exam. Everyone knows that process. What's the process that goes behind the scene after you have gotten your result and once the counseling starts? Like, what's the process from counseling to getting your admission to a given
Yeah.
college?
Yes. So, CAT is a qualifying exam. The marks that you have for the CAT, they are only the qualifiers for you to get shortlisted by the colleges. So, most of us have given JEE or CET if
Yeah.
you are engineers. What happens in over there is that you are selected purely on basis of your JEE or CET marks. There's no further process.
Yeah.
It does not happen like that in CAT. And what happens in CAT is after you get your results, then colleges individually start sending you your calls. By the calls, I mean they call you for the interview,
Yeah.
for the next round. So every college would have a different process, and by different process I mean you will have to go to each college's process. And there is one cap round, which is the common admission process, and over there you have tier 2 and tier 3 IIMs that take the process collectively. So you only have to apply for the cap process once. And other than that, some private colleges also accept CAT score, so you have to apply to those colleges, and then they shortlist you based on your CAT score. So after you get the shortlist, you will be given dates for your interviews. And in the interviews you may or may not have a few things, which by which I mean written ability test, which is also called VAT. And in VAT you have to write like an essay, or they give you a topic and you have to write about it in a few words. They test your written abilities. Then or you would have a group discussion wherein you will be seated in groups, and you will be given a topic and you will have to discuss upon the upon that topic for I think 10-15 minutes. And after that there's one more process called extempore that actually happens in your personal interview. uh, so extempore is when the interviews give you a topic. Suppose you are my interviewee and we are talking, and then suddenly they'll be like, so okay, so we are giving you an extempore, talk about this so and so topic in 1 minute. You will have 30 minutes to think and 1 minute to speak, and they will have a timer with them most times. And that is how it goes. So extempore will be in the personal interview. The personal interview is the uh, karta dharta, or I would say, of your admission. If you are able to impress the interviewers, you're it, I think. So in your personal interviews, you will get questions about anything and everything that you have done in your life. It or even sometimes if it is a difficult interview, even if you have not done something in your life, completely unrelated things, they'll also ask about that. For I once gave interview for IIM Kozhikode, and this person, the interviewer, he randomly asked me about five motor brands, like the automobile brands. I have no idea about cars. I do not know anything, and so I that is how. And I was caught off guard, and I did name a few of them. So this is what happens. They can ask you anything and everything under the sun. Next, they can ask you about is your degree. If you are a fresher, especially if you do not have any work experience, they will ask you about your college subjects. Um, for me a lot of questions were around Java and like my internships, what I did in my internships. If you have work experience, they will ask you about what you worked on and questions around that in like the field that you worked in your company. And they will also ask you about current affairs. So you have to be thorough with all the things that are going around in the business world. In like politics is not asked that much, but during my time, like recently, the Trump thing, the tariff war was happening, so we were asked upon that a lot. So that is another thing. And the last thing is your HR answers, which is like, why do you want to do an MBA, tell me about yourself, or what are your hobbies, your strengths, weaknesses, all these things. So these are the things that they would ask you in a personal interview. So after your CAT result comes in, these are the processes that you have to go through for almost every college. Some colleges do not have the VAT and GD part. Some only have VAT and personal interview. Some only have GD and personal interview. But most have only personal interviews. So every college has a different process, and you have to go to different processes according to the college. They also ask you why do you want to go into that college, so you also research about the college.
Okay. So that was good to know. And especially for the new folks, I think there's a lot of current affairs going on over the last previous months or so. So you should probably be a bit, you should have knowledge about all of that. Because what I
Yeah,
understood was they're trying to understand you as a person, as a personality. Overall, they're not just judging the fact that you've done good in the exam and you can actually do well.
yeah. This is what I said, that you need to be holistic. Like you need to be holistically smart, not just academically smart. And this is why I said that personal interviews are very important, because a person with a candidate with more marks may get rejected, while a candidate with less marks in CAT exam might get selected because they were doing good in their interview processes. Because people in these schools, they want students who are overall smart. They don't want book smart people,
Yeah.
because they want leaders, business leaders. So that is why.
Okay. Now it would be nice if you could tell maybe the most important lesson you learned over all three stages. So first of all, if there was some mistake you made during your CAT preparation, during the GD round and interview round, just sort of so that people don't make that same mistake and they could maybe learn from that and actually do well in these different rounds.
Yeah, okay. So during my CAT preparation, I would say that uh, a so one mistake that I made was not analyzing my mocks really well. I gave a lot of mocks. I think I gave more than 30 mocks for CAT. Like 30 is the most you could give, but I gave more mocks than that. But what I did wrong was I did not analyze my mocks. So you don't have to just take the test and then sit, look at the score and sit. You have to actually analyze where you went wrong and everything. So I think that was something that I would suggest people to do, and where they lack. And one more thing that I have seen a lot of aspirants do is they think that CAT is a sprint. Like you have to do so much so fast. But I would say CAT is a marathon and not a sprint. You have to be consistent, because consistency in while preparation matters a lot. And you will, even if you do small things every day, like I used to solve 3 RCs every day. I used to solve 2 LRDI sets at least every day, and I used to also practice some maths questions every single day. So even if I am not learning a particular topic, but if I'm practicing, I am still in the loop. Because once you forget, but because there's so much,
Yeah.
the syllabus is vast, especially for maths. The syllabus is vast, and if you are keeping a big gap, and it happens with a lot of people who are doing job as well as CAT preparation, that they tend to forget to study sometimes, and they only study on weekends. So yes, you can do full-fledged study on weekends, but also try to do little things every single day. So consistency really matters when it comes to preparation. And again, when you move on from your CAT to your GDPI process, one thing to remember is that yes, CAT was important, but what is more important is your GDPI process, and you have to give your best over there. Just because you got good enough marks in CAT, you cannot just relax now. You have to work more hard for GDPI process, because it's very unpredictable. As I said, they can ask you anything under the sun, and you have to be prepared for that. There's so much to do in so little time, because the results come in December and the processes will start from like February or something. Like my processes start from February, so you have to do so much in like only 2 months. So you have to kind of be prepared for all of that. And one more thing that happens is you have to actually travel a lot for your processes, because it's offline, it's not online.
Yeah.
Like most processes would be offline. You will have to go to the center to give your interviews, and that is why you have to be prepared for that as well. To because when I had gotten a lot of calls from a lot of colleges, and it was, I had to go to Bombay every week at least twice, and I was doing back and forth like for February, March, and April. 3 months I was going back and forth from Bombay to Kolhapur, Bombay to Kolhapur, and it was very tiring. And after a point, I was like, I do not want to give any more interviews, please. Even though I prayed for this, I actually prayed to get so many calls. But after a point, you just become so tired. You're like, "Ah, oh my, because it's like you're giving the same thing over and over and over again. So just have that endurance in you, because it's really going to matter a lot. um after your results start to come in, like after your GD process is over, the results start to flow in, and we kind of uh, feel very demotivated when you get rejected or you get waitlisted. I personally got waitlisted in a lot of colleges. It was like waitlist after waitlist after waitlist, and I was kind of losing hope. But then you need to understand that uh, it is okay, and you are going to go wherever you're meant to go. So you do not have to worry so much about it. Honestly, when my co-code interview result came out, I was hoping that I get it, even though I knew my interview was very bad. I knew, because he asked me about the automobile stuff, and I fumbled over there so badly. And then he asked me one more question, which I was not able to answer very properly, and that went on for a very long time. And I knew, okay, मेरा interview खराब गया है. But फिर भी मैं दिल, like in my heart, I was feeling like, please मुझे मिल जाए. But it did not happen, and I did feel bad about it. But then it is very tempting when you see other people get selected, and you are waitlisted to an impossible number. I would say don't lose hope, because you will eventually go wherever you want to go. Because then the Kozhikode thing happened, and then 2 weeks later I got IIM Mumbai admission. And after that, I got all the CAP calls. Like I was selected in every college in the CAP process, so I was very happy. And then the Indore thing came, so I was like double happy then. So keep a positive outlook that हो जाएगा मेरा, and even if नहीं हुआ तो भी I will do something. So it's not the end of the world. The CAT is not the end of the world. So you will have to also keep that in your mindset. So do not make it a very big deal.
Okay. I wanted to talk about the mental aspect now, because you said that you skipped placements and then you took a drop. So did that ever play in your mind? Because a lot of times it does, even in like internship seasons or placement seasons, if all your friends are getting placed or like everyone's pretty much doing well and doing something, and you're like not able to perform to the best level, you're not getting the calls. So did that ever play in your mind? Because with a drop, I think there's a lot of pressure, right? Given the fact that you first of all skip placement, and based on the experience I have with Cummins and folks from there, the placements are pretty like they're pretty good. So it's probably really hard to
Yes.
sort of resist that, because the on-campus placements are probably one of the best in Pune, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So like,
Yes, yes,
what play in your
absolutely.
mind?
So, yes, it was a very big decision, and my parents were shocked. My friends were shocked. They were kind of convincing me कि ईशा please तू placement ले ले, फिर तू करते रहना तेरा जो भी CAT है and everything. And for me, it was I was clear. I was like, I do not want to do a job that I do not enjoy and I would not like. Like I do not care if I'm getting 1 lakh or like if I'm getting like 50,000 per month, I do not care. But if I'm doing a job that I like, I would not mind having less money, but I would rather be broke and be happy than be rich and not happy. So I was like, मेरे को जाना ही नहीं है फील्ड में, मुझे पसंद ही नहीं है. And I knew, so when I was in my college, I actually juggled a lot of things. I was doing the startup thing, I was heading the club thing, I was focusing on my academics and everything and everything. So that was kind of a khichdi. And I realized if I need to do something effectively, I would need to take a break. Like I need to breathe, and then I would be able to achieve my goals properly. And so that is why I was very firm on my decision. Like even though my friends were constantly telling me, Isha, please le le, because CAT is very unpredictable. Like honestly, CAT is very unpredictable. Not everybody gets it in their first attempt. Like I consider myself really lucky that I was able to get a tier 1 IIM in my first attempt. But it is very, very unpredictable, and you would not know where you went wrong. So my like people were really worried, but then I knew in my heart that I do not want to do that. I want to do this. So I like in my like I am a very big risk taker, I would say. And I do not regret taking any decisions, because I kind of calculate all the pros and cons in my head. And even my teachers were telling me, do you have a plan B? And I was like, my plan there's no plan B, like, because if I have a plan B, then मैं सोचूंगी कि चलो plan A थोड़ा सा fail हो भी गया तो चलेगा, life would go on. But no, I was like, I did not give myself that grace. And actually I did think about this when I was getting all waitlisted. मुझे लगा कि oh my god, did I make a wrong decision? अभी क्या करूँ? Because if I do not crack any college now, I will have to go and take up a job, because 2 साल का gap तो नहीं दे सकती मैं.
Correct.
So I will have to take up a job, and I was stressed at that time. And then I started to look up for like jobs and stuff. But then uh, it happened, and because I think that I believed कि हो जाएगा मेरा इतना time. It was just like 1-2 days of like down. Like I was down for only 1 or 2 days. I was like, अरे यार शायद से सब लोगों की सुन लेनी चाहिए थी. But then because I took a big risk, I think I got a big reward as well. And it is it is not advisable for everyone. मैं ये नहीं बोलूँगी कि सब लोग अभी गैप ईयर ले लो मेरा सुन के, सबके साथ ऐसा नहीं होता है. दैट एंड येस, गैप ईयर डज अफेक्ट इन योर एमबीए प्लेसमेंट्स एज वेल, सो यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड दैट एज वेल. सो be थोड़ा mindful, and if you have the resources and the time to take a gap year, only then do that. But if you think that you would be better off doing a job and then giving CAT a few times, do that. So it's a personal preference. Do not blindly listen to someone, is what I would say.
Okay. And the risk thing, that is important, like you have to take risk, but it was more of a calculated risk, because like Isha mentioned,
Yeah.
she looked towards the pros and towards the cons. And it was basically, she was really dedicated, and she was sort of confident in her heart that I actually want to do that. So that is why she was able to skip the placement. And like she mentioned, don't like start skipping your placement or be like, "Ki, I just want to give
Yeah.
because I want to go to IIM, you have to think out, because everyone has like a different background, they have a different mindset, they have a different sort of want for it. Like Isha really wanted to do MBA, so she was like really, she took that big risk of skipping the placement. And it is tempting at times, like I won't lie, like it probably is tempting with all your friends getting placed and things like that, and you're going on some other route. And I think that happens with a lot of folks who want to actually maybe, who are going for a master's or doing something different, because in most engineering colleges I think the bulk of the crowd is probably into placement, whether that is off campus or on campus. And then if you're trying to dive into something totally different, it really takes that the guts to sort of take that risk and stay on that risk. Like you can't quit in the middle,
Yeah,
because once you've taken the drop, you can't be like कि अभी नहीं, अभी drop में मजा नहीं आ रहा, तो let's take a job. You can't be like that.
you cannot do that. Yeah.
So you have to like think things out before you can actually take such decisions. Like to know the resources that you use, like whether you joined some sort of coaching or not, and how you cover the different subjects. And it would also be nice if you could also encapsulate your daily routine into that, based on like the topics you covered on a daily basis. So yeah.
So yes, I actually joined an online coaching class because online was the better option for me because I was staying at home and not in Pune, where most of the good coaching classes would be. Like I have heard of IMS and Time are like the most famous coaching classes, but they have branches in Pune and not at my hometown. So I chose an online coaching because it was like flexible with my schedules, because I started actually preparing in my final year, like the last few months of my final year. So I was actually initially completing my syllabus while I was still in college. So there used to be night classes. I actually joined iQuanta for my preparation, and we used to have classes at night. But I am not a night person. I'm a morning person. So I used to wake up early in the morning, and I used to go to the library in my hostel, and there I used to watch the recordings. So I actually finished half, I would say, or like a little less than half of my syllabus before I graduated, which is like in June.
Yeah.
So till June, I was like 50% of my syllabus was done, and after that, when I came home, and then I was practicing the part that I learned in my college time, and then I learned the rest of the syllabus. And okay, talking about syllabus, you do not have to do all of those things. Let me just make it very clear, especially for maths. For math, you do not have to study all the subjects. You do arithmetic, algebra, and geometry and number system. Number system is like the basics. You will learn number systems first. So arithmetic, algebra, and geometry. These are the three major things that you have to do. You can skip geometry even if you want, but algebra and arithmetic are the two most important topics that you have to do in your QA preparation. You can skip probability and PNC. I skip them, but it is good to know like the basics of
Yeah.
it. So that if you have like a very easy question, you will be able to solve it, right? So yeah, so arithmetic, algebra, do them. When it comes to LRDI, you have to do all of the topics,
Yeah.
because you have, I think, I'm not sure how many, but then you have around 10 topics to learn, and you will get 4 sets from any topic.
Yeah.
So you do not know when your strong topic would come or no. So you will have to learn everything in LRDI, but you would, so when you practice your LRDI sets, you will actually come to know which is your strong topic and which is a topic that you are struggling with. So you will be able to choose your sets wisely. So you have to study everything, but then practice that you are good, practice the thing that you're good at. And when it comes to VARC, you have to only do passages and grammar. So there's not much preparation over there. There's only practice
Yeah.
over there. So I used to solve like daily. My routine would be either attend classes. Initially, I used to study around 4 hours a day, like in my initial serious, like when I used to have preparation leaves from college, or I in
Yeah.
fourth year we did not have a lot of things to do in
Yeah.
college. So you just I used to like study 4 hours a day or something initially, and in that my first priority was to complete the syllabus, like learn whatever is being taught in the class. And after that I used to practice a few sums, and on the days where I do not have time to do classes or anything, like if I do not have time, like the 4 hour time or anything, I used to do, as I said, consistency is important, so I used to make sure I solve two RC sets. I solve uh, three LRDI sets or three RC sets, two LRDI sets, anything of that, so that the link is still there. Like you're still linked to your preparation. So you do that every single day. And to anybody who is practicing actively, or like preparing actively for CAT, I would say having a daily target is very, very important. Like you have to have a daily target for each of your subjects. Uh, the ideal targets would be to solve 3 to 4 RCs every day.
Mm.
uh, Read the newspaper, the editorials, to improve your comprehension powers, because you have a very less time and the passages sometimes are really long, and you have to read the passage, comprehend what is there, and then go to the answer. So if you read newspapers or essays, there's Aeon essays. I did not read them because they were really long for me. I'm going to be very honest. A lot of aspirants read that, but I did not. I used to read the Indian Express newspaper, the editorials over there, or like just the general
Yeah.
articles over there as well. So you're killing two birds with one stone. You're
Yeah.
also preparing for your GDPA round, and you're also doing your English. So that is second target. The third target would be to solve three LRDI sets, or 2 to 3 LRDI sets. I actually enjoyed LRDR, so sometimes I used to solve more sets. And one thing to do when you're solving LRDS sets or RC sets would be to have a timer with you.
Yeah.
And ideal time for solving an RC set would be 7 minutes. I think anything more than that for your RC set, you need to improve your speed. And for LRDI sets, it depends upon how good you are with the topic. So initially you can take more time. You can take like 10 minutes or 15 minutes to solve, but then later on you will have to do it in less amount of time. Like so some sets would require so when you practice, actually you will understand, okay, this is an easy set, so this should take me only 5 minutes to solve. This is a hard set, so it will take me like 10 minutes or 15 minutes for me to solve. So this is how you will understand. So for daily you do this. And for QA daily target, like solve 30 QA questions at least. I think 30 is like a good amount
Yeah.
of questions that you can solve. So that should be your daily targets for your preparation. And this can also be your daily schedule as well. So if you do these things, and then you top them with some if you have any classes for your preparation, you do them, so that will pretty much be all right. And when you come in your we would say, so November is the exam, and you will have to start solving mocks from like August end or September. Like August is a good time to start, but September is also a really good time to start solving your mocks. So when you have a mock day, I would suggest that you keep that day only for your mock. You solve the mock for 2 hours, and then you spend, I think, 4 hours analyzing the mock. Go through each question. So if you have a mock day, you only do that. You solve a mock in you have a morning slot,
Yeah.
afternoon slot, and evening slot. So sit on those slots only. Uh, Practice them in that time limit, so you will understand the exam pressure. So once you solve that mock, then you analyze the mock really well. Like spend a lot of time doing it. 4 hours at least. You have to sit and take each question and see where did you go wrong. How much time did you take to solve that question? How much time did a topper take to solve that question? You get that insights when you purchase a mock series. So everything is also, you analyze that, and then you see, okay, this topic is my strength, this is not. So all of that would take a lot of time. So your mock day, your schedule would be only to do mocks and analyze the mock. Other than that, I think this
I think we covered
your
it. Uh,
sorry.
like, did I think we covered most of the things, right? Just to summarize, you mentioned that you have to do like 30 to 40 quant questions every day, and then
Yeah,
RDR depending upon like the time you want to devote. So like 3 to 5 sets in general, and do that in a timely fashion. So initially, like Isha had mentioned, that you can take a bit more time, but towards the end you have to adjust the time, and based on the question you have to adjust the time. So it can't be that you're taking the same amount of time for an easy question and for a hard question. And then for English, like she mentioned, was there's some resources out there where you have essays and things like that to improve your comprehension skills overall. And newspaper reading was also a habit that she inculcated. And like she mentioned, something important I found out was analyzing the mocks. It should be like 4 hours. So I think
at
that's
least.
really important because the exam is 2 hours. And if you don't
Yeah.
analyze it, you're going to end up doing the same mistakes repeatedly. So I think that was a pretty big advice that you mentioned, that you have to really.
Yeah, and you also need to solve your past year's questions as a mock.
Okay.
With the past year's paper as a mock as well, so you understand, because mocks might be difficult or easy, but the past year paper would be actual cat
Yeah.
paper, so you will understand where do you actually lie. And if you were giving a cat 2024 question, how paper, how smart you would be and how much you would have scored.
Yeah.
So that is really important, that and that is like in your last stages, not in a preparation stages, like in October you could
Yeah.
do that.
Okay. Isha, I wanted to talk about personality building or profile building. So if you could briefly mention what sort of activities should folks take part in, because it's not just the marks again. Like throughout this podcast, that is something that we've understood, that it's not just clearing the qualification. That is just the cat part of thing. That is just to get to the next round. But if you don't have a really good profile, you might as well do really well in the cat exam and not get the required IM, or not get any IM in fact. And on the other hand, you could not get, maybe you get like 95 percentile or something like that, but you still end up getting the best IIM. So how did you, like, personally for you, I think we know that you were like engaged in a lot of clubs, like you mentioned you were in the startup club, and then you had this mental health startup or club sort of thing, so that probably helped you show your leadership skills. So yeah, how do you think people should build their profile and actually stand out?
So when you are, if you are like in your initial years of your college, you have a lot of time in your hand to actually build your profile. And by building a profile, I mean take part in leadership activities like volunteering in an NGO, or volunteering in your college fest, taking part in competitions where you are like the team leader, or try to just find opportunities where you could showcase your leadership skills. That is one thing that you could build your profile on. Secondly, would be to take a few like certifications if you want. There are certifications from IIMs that people take. I do not have any of that,
Yeah.
but then there are people who do those things. So that is also really advantageous. Then like on Swayam platform, you have a few courses then
Mm.
that you can explore. Then other than that, so what happens is when you are shortlisted for a college, the college has a criteria. So they
Correct.
have a criteria for the 10th standard marks, your 12th marks, and your graduation marks. You have weightages for different colleges. There are different weightages, and those marks plus your work experience marks would be there. For like less than 12 months, you get 0 marks. So I got 0 marks over there. Then there are a few marks where a few colleges give extra marks for women candidates for
Okay.
diversity.
Mm.
And if you are not an engineer, you get extra marks over there as well to for like, again the type for diversity purposes.
Yeah.
So check out that, and you have to see what colleges you would be good at. By that I mean you would be really wanted in that
Yeah.
college, something like that. So when it comes to Indore loves freshers, and Indore loves engineers as well. So I knew this is a college that would really want me.
Yeah.
So you will actually understand that. So profile building is one thing, but also knowing your profile is very important. And now you cannot change your 10th or 12th
Yeah.
marks, but you can work hard for your graduation marks. So if you are still in college, try to increase your CGPA, because that is people keep talking about how academics is only one part of your
Yeah.
life or anything, but then if you have to go into a big college, it is going to be very important to get more marks in your academics.
Okay. So that was pretty good. Like you should basically research the colleges and like just so that you have an idea of what college,
Yes.
what sort of aspirant, or what
Yes, because
type. Yeah.
yeah, because everybody keeps talking about IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta,
Yeah.
ABC. It's called Holy
Yeah.
Trinity. Everybody keeps talking about that. I want to go over there, but why do you want to go over there? People do not know that, first of all.
Yeah.
And for me, I knew they were never my goals. Like ABC was never my goal because one, I do not have the work experience, and two, I was not a very consistent academic performer. Like in my 12th standard, my grades dropped, so I just knew I had like barely any chance to go over there. So you need to be so realistic in choosing your college goals. Like if you are someone who scored really less marks in the 12th standard or 10th standard, and if you're a general candidate, for example, you cannot actually think that miraculously you are going to go to
Yeah.
a very prestigious IIM ABC, because they do have a criteria like that. They only want consistently higher achieving students in their batches. So it's not the end of the world. Again, I want to mention this part that tier 1 college is not the only thing in the world.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, and a lot of people, a lot of aspirants think that if you do not get IIM, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, or Kolkata, or even Blackie, like the top
Yeah.
six IIMs,
Yeah.
including Lucknow, Kolkata, Kozhikode, Indore, then you are not very good MBA call,
Sure.
student. Yeah, so that is not how it happens. Uh, tier one is not the end of the world. If you do not get a tier one, it's not like you're a failure. Tier two, there are so many people who do really good things from a tier two or tier three college. It is not upon the candidate, it's not upon the college, it's upon the candidate, and on how good they can go ahead and how well they can use the resources, because every college will provide you the resources that you need. You just have to make very good use of them. There are so many people from good colleges that they do not get good placements because they just do not work hard enough for them. So don't have this mindset of that if I do not get a great college, I am a failure. Do not think like that. Or even if, again, if you have bad academic but you still want to do an MBA, don't lose hopes because only because you're not eligible for ABC. There are different colleges. There's FMS Delhi, who does not take academics into consideration. They only give shortlist based on your CAT score. So aim for that college then. It's a really good college. It comes right after ABC.
Okay. And I think that that was like the underlying theme of the podcast, like you mentioned, is that it's not necessary that you like realistically get into IIM ABC because they have their own stringent sort of policies or whatever. So it's really important to be realistic. And if you are someone that is aspiring to be a CAT aspirant, just don't like dive into it without any research. Like don't be like just so
Yeah.
you don't have to face something later on. Because I've even heard a lot of stories regarding that. So you have to be really in detailed with your sort of study that is this actually the best fit for me right now, or is there some sort of other route I should take, and maybe I could do IIM later, or maybe I could take CAT later. So it's really important to introspect.
And when like to talk about the realistic part, I would like to just modify it a little bit. You know that you will be happy over here. Aim for this, and then you can come over here and you'll still be happy. Just aim for a little bit higher of a college, and then you come down and you'll be still satisfied, like, okay, I tried my best. Because there's no harm in dreaming big, right? I dreamed of Kozhikode and FMS, but I got waitlisted over there, and I still got Indore. But I wanted Indore all along. I knew that in my heart, but I was aiming for FMS and I am Kozhikode.
Yeah.
And if I got uh, a little we would say the waitlist ends at a particular number, and I got thoda dur waitlist number, so it's fine. I mean, I am still over here and I'm still happy because this was like my aim, but then this was what I want. Like, I was being optimistic for this. If you get that, it's really well and good, but then, like, realistic, huh, but then be thoda sa optimistic and like stretch yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, so like you have to be realistic and optimistic. That was like
Yeah.
that's pretty like it's psychological as well. Because I haven't like heard this personally from someone, but that was really something cool. Like that you have to be realistic. Like you can have your goals, but you should aim higher because
Yeah.
like you mentioned, even if you fall, like you'll still actually get the realistic goal that.
Like aim for the moon, you will get the stars.
Yeah. Yeah. So Isha, thank you so much for coming to my podcast. It was actually a great experience because like you're really positive and I would say it was pretty honest because it was not like IIMs are the best or all of that. Like you're realistically speaking about the facts like why someone should go for cat or someone should not go for cat because I think that would be the motto of our podcast to actually give people a realistic feel about the different things they can do after engineering rather than just sort of giving them some sort of dream and then later on once they go for it they find out there are a lot of setbacks and things like that. So I think it was really good, it was really positive podcast and I self also learned a lot regarding cat and all of that. So thank you so much Isha for coming to my podcast. Maybe we could do a couple of podcasts after you graduate from IIM so we could share the experience at IIM and before and after
I
sort
would
of.
love that. Yeah. Thank
uh,
you so much for having me. This was really fun. I mean, I get a lot of questions about this, and I think if I have this video, I would just be like, please refer to this because I don't have to repeat the same things over and over again. And I really hope that people get some insights from this. And yeah, all the best for your journey as well.
Thank you so much. Hopefully, it's not like the IIM interviews like you mentioned because you have to repeat the same thing like you had mentioned. You have to go up and down, and then you will
You have
same thing all the.
That happens. Yeah, it is very unpredictable, but it is very fun as well because now if I look at them, I am really happy that all of those things happened. It's really fun. It's an experience for you.
Yeah, I think it is because like life should be full of adventures. Because if you don't try anything,
Yes.
it's gonna be boring at the end of the day.
But
Even
what
if
is fun in like getting everything really easy?
yeah,
Anybody would get them.
yeah, then there would be no value of things. So yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much. It was a great podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.